We are going to back up because I'm not sure that I was live. So after all of that. Welcome to the Blackbird Chronicles. This is the CES 2026 focused version of the Blackbird Chronicles since CES just ended. Not sure how many of you actually saw I was talking and wasn't even live, so that was great. That ended on Friday. I got home. It ended on Friday. I left Friday morning after I was there Monday, so I was there all week for the important days. And got home late Friday, went through everything yesterday, put this together that you're going to see today. I'm going to cover the highlights, I'm going to cover the biggest surprises, the biggest disappointments, and there were two major big disappointments to me. And then I'm going to go through my top 5. And as I talked about before I was actually live, which was me just being silly and talking to myself, this is what I saw. And CES is huge. I mean, I think there were 350,000 people there, so it was massive. And particularly in the PC tech space. So I stayed at the Venetian where the PC tech crowd is. So that was great. I was at the Plaza, so I could walk downstairs essentially and then go there. Unfortunately, there's a lot of PC tech manufacturers and vendors that don't buy space in the main area and will just have a hotel room or a suite, and they will entertain in the suite. The problem is they don't get walk-bys, so that's tough if you're trying to track someone down. You have no idea where they are unless you know someone there and have kind of talked to them in advance. So that can be challenging. So companies like Corsair, for example, had their own suite. They weren't on display in the main area. So it's hard to cover everyone. And the first few years I went, I had a huge amount of FOMO, thinking, what am I missing out on? And you just got to get over that and just focus on the things that you're there and looking at. And if there's things you miss, there's things you miss. That's basically how it is. And, I went across to the main area, the main hall, and looked through some stuff there. And for example, Keychron was in the main hall, not with PC Tech. There was a bunch of things like that. Minis Forum and other companies were in the main hall area, either in the north or south. I think they're in the north hall. It's just huge, right? You get a lot of steps in, let's put it that way. You do a lot of walking. You have to have really good shoes. But for someone that loves tech like me, I love it. It's like a kid. It's like a huge, it's like a huge micro center, except you can't buy anything there. At least not what I'm aware of. And I have a really funny story about Gigabyte. On the last day, I was meeting with Gigabyte, and we were walking around, and they had, and I'm going to talk about it, their Infinity RTX 5090, which I'm sure you've seen by now. And they had it on display, and I went through the whole thing with them. And then at the end, the woman that was taking me through said to me, did you see the 40th anniversary logo on the Infinity card? And I said to her, no, I didn't see it. She's like, oh, let me take you over. Before you leave, let me take you over and show you. And so she went to grab it, and it wasn't there. And I said to her, do you think someone took it? And she's like, no, someone's probably filming, and she could not locate it. So that would be an interesting pickup. Now, I don't think it would be a content creator, because that would destroy your credibility if you did something as stupid as that. But I've got to reach out to them and find out if they ever found it. Someone could have pocketed that and walked off with a 5090 there. So that was a little strange. The other thing was, while I was filming at MSI on the Tuesday, which was a media focus day, there were a bunch of people there. So I ran into Linus and I had a good chat with him. He was great. He was gracious. I'd worked with him. They had sponsored me to advertise their new screwdrivers, and I've been communicating with Linus via email for quite some time. But while I was there, a bunch of people came up and asked if they could take photos, and he was very gracious and did that. And I was thinking about it. It must be a bit annoying going to events like that for him, because that would happen a lot. But he was very gracious about it. So I think that was a good model to see how to handle things. I think that was good. While I was in the it all happened while I was at MSI, actually. Paul from Paul's Hardware was there. Tim from Hardware Unboxed was there, and I was next to him filming the the Unify X board while he was filming something else. Steve wasn't there, otherwise I would have said hi, because you know how much I love Hardware Unboxed. So they were there. Pedro from PCMR was there filming. And I mentioned this earlier because I hadn't hit the live button, so I'm sorry about that. But I always miss hitting that go live button because I wondered why there was no viewers, and now I know why. But I found fascinating with Linus is that his team was filming on a phone, and so you see all these other content creators and they're using all this huge equipment. And what's fascinating to me is that Linus understands what's important, which is the content. It doesn't matter how good your equipment is. If you deliver great content, people will watch it. And I thought that was a good lesson to take away from that too. I think it's very easy to get wrapped around into the equipment that you use, right? The other thing is that you'll see, if you're a member of my Skool community, I put all of my content up for Skool members to see, all of the raw content. So you'll see some where I'm talking with JJ from Asus and you're getting the inside scoop, and some guy puts his arm right in front of the camera while I'm filming, and you just stand back and you're like, that's CES, right? So it got a lot worse on Wednesday and Thursday when those areas were open to the public. So it was pretty tough to film those days. So you got to go in either early or late. But yeah, I thought it was, okay, it wasn't as exciting because it was new. There wasn't any new graphics card releases in terms of new chips. There was new cards released, but there wasn't in terms of new chips. So you could argue that it wasn't as exciting because of that, but I actually found that to be a little less stressful because you could focus in on all of the other cool things that were on display. And there was a lot, and we're going to go through them today, at least from my perspective. So let's jump in. And hey guys that are in the chat, Scott and DeZeus, it's good to see you here, and everyone that is watching. And by the way, as I go through this, if you got questions about anything that anyone said, I know we had some discussions in Skool about what Asus said, what JJ said about things. We're gonna go through that. And let me just mention, as I said, all of my footage, I've got most of it up. I couldn't upload it while I was there because of the internet connection in the hotel room wasn't strong enough, but I put most of it up yesterday. So there's, 15 videos from Asus. Lots of things I'm not going to cover today are there. All of my raw footage is up there. Walkthroughs of AMD, Intel, all of those things are all up there. So if you join Skool, you'll see all of that. The other thing I just put up in Skool is a memory timing optimization guide. First one is for AMD, so it covers all different, M dies, A dies, 16, 24 gig DIMMs, how to fully optimize, having a base and a max tune configuration for different speeds. So I've got that up there for AMD. I'm working on the Intel one. That'll be up there soon. I'm also working on some how to tune memory guides that I do plan to put up on the channel, which will be fun. And I'm also planning, I spoke with JJ from Asus. I'm going to have him on as a special guest for Skool. I'll record that, so I'll post that on the channel. But the Skool members will be able to ask questions and engage with JJ. He's fantastic. He's probably my favorite person from all of the different manufacturers, and there's two reasons. One, he's very knowledgeable, and two, he's genuinely passionate about the tech, and it comes across, right? There's people that you meet and they're clearly there as a job, but this guy lives his stuff, so that's great. And I've got some cool things lined up. You can see, well, this side, I guess, I've got the Matrix. That's the Matrix box, the 5090 Matrix from Asus, which I purchased. So just be clear, they did not sample that to me. I did purchase that, and I'm currently testing that, and I've got a very cool video lined up. I've just added another GPU to that mix, and you'll see that max overclocked versus stock against a number of other cards, the Astral being one of them, but two other cards. I don't want to ruin that yet, right? So anyway, so that'll be fun. All right, let's jump straight in. So first I wanted to start with my predictions, right? And that's something that I find a lot of content creators don't do. They make all these wild predictions and just tell you about when they were right, not when they were wrong. So let me start with what I was wrong about, right? I was wrong about AMD announcing the 9950 X3D2. I initially heard it had been cancelled, and then I heard it hadn't been cancelled. So AMD must have copped a lot of flack for that. I don't know why they didn't announce it if it hasn't been cancelled. Just seems like a missed opportunity. I guess they wanted to. They won the award for the most AI mentions of AIs in their keynote, and you know, I think people have turned that into a drinking game or whatever. It's pretty ridiculous. And then Intel, I was wrong about them announcing the B770 and wrong about them announcing the refresh. Now, I believe that the refresh is still on track to launch. So I have absolutely no idea why they didn't announce that. I'm not sure about B770. So that's a little weird. I was waiting to do the comparison with that and the 5060 Ti and the 9060 XT. I might just move forward with that. I was, however, absolutely spot on with Nvidia. I said they were not going to launch their Super Series GPUs, which I thought was incredibly obvious, and that they would announce DLSS 4.5. Got that spot on. The other thing I did predict was that they would talk about their neural texture compression technology and launch that. That wasn't part of their major announcement. However, I did confirm with Nvidia that they did release with this new update to DLSS a new SDK for that. So if you're not familiar with that, that allows you to significantly reduce the requirements for VRAM on a GPU by significantly reducing the texture size. Without loss. It's a lossless technology. And so the fact that they've got a new SDK means that game developers will be using it. So I'm hoping to see that integrated into games in the future. So that'll be pretty cool. So I would give myself a, I don't know, 30%, 40% kind of score for predicting what would come out. I still am dumbfounded as to why Intel and AMD didn't announce the things that they've got. It made absolutely no sense at a consumer electronics show. All right, so biggest surprises, right? I'll run through these quick and then I'll go through some of these in detail. So the first one was the Lightning Z from MSI, and I'm going to cover this in a little more detail as we go on the live stream. That was a surprise, except that they had been teasing it. And then what did CES do? CES, the day before they announced it, on Monday or Monday morning or Sunday, whenever it was, decided to award them a best of CES. And so they made that announcement with a picture of the card the day before MSI was due to announce it. So that kind of sucked for MSI, but we all knew a Lightning was coming. What we didn't know is what it would look like, right? So that was it. So I'm not saying the Lightning itself was a surprise, but what it looked like in the form factor to me was a very big surprise. With that huge LCD and going water cooling. I thought they would go air cooling, particularly from all the old Lightning models. By the way, on display at the booth, and you'll see this in Skool, were all of the old Lightning models, right? Dating back to whenever their first Lightning card was. And so they had them all on display, which was pretty awesome. And I think I still like the 2070 Ti Lightning the best. I just thought it was a beautiful looking card. I would love to see an air-cooled version of the Lightning Z, and I heard rumors that they might be making one. I don't know. So I could not confirm that with MSI. The one that really shocked me was the Aorus 5090 Infinity. It was shocking because it was so unique, and so I give them credit for that. It kind of, when you picked up the card, it kind of looked like a Tron motorcycle from the movie Tron. It's pretty cool, and it has this hidden third fan in the middle when you shine a light, and again you'll see that footage in Skool. I like the card, but not to confuse it with the two top end cards, which will be the Lightning and the Matrix. It has one power connector, so it will be limited to 600 watts, so don't expect that that's going to compete for benchmark supremacy with those other two cards, right? The Lightning Z apparently has 1,000 watt V-BIOS, whereas the Matrix, that's limited to about 800 watts. However, there's apparently an XOC V-BIOS that I'm going to try and get my hands on if I can. And so that will unlock the matrix. So we'll see if I can get my hands on a Lightning. I will do the battle for you to see who reigns supreme for the most ridiculous outlay of funds to get a 5090, right? It's not going to help your gaming too much, I'm pretty sure, but they're just beautiful cards, so that's cool. A big surprise to me also was BiWin. Now, I'd set up meetings with them before the show. I'd been communicating with them for a while. They weren't in the US, so when we first communicated, they said, hold on, we're not in the US yet, so it didn't make sense me kind of engaging with them. But they just opened up a Miami office, and I was shocked to see how widespread they are in the industry. So, and you'll see them coming up too, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. I was a little confused because they had Origin code RAM there on display in their booth, and so when I spoke to some of them, they said that was part of BiWin, and then others said it's kind of a separate brand. It's BiWin memory. By the way, BiWin does a lot of memory for very big brands like, you know, Apple and others, right? They couldn't confirm any of that, but they strongly implied that they're the manufacturer for that. The other interesting thing about BiWin and why not to sleep on them, they're a little different than, say, a Corsair that basically gets the ICs in the form factor they're going to use it and puts their heat spreader on top. BiWin gets the wafers and makes the chips themselves, right? So they get the wafers from so it's not a solution to the RAM crisis. They do still have to get in line to get the wafers from the SK Hynix, who had a huge booth there, by the way, Samsung and Micron. But they manufacture the ICs, which means they can manufacture kits with super tight timings and do all sorts of interesting things. They also have SSDs, and they're available on Amazon now, some of the BiWin solutions. So I'm going to show you some of those. They're not super cheap, don't get me wrong. We're not talking about cheap RAM. We're talking about really good quality stuff. But I looked at some of the relative pricing, and they're not bad. The other one I was very impressed by, and it was a shock to me, was this new signature case by InWin. You may have seen some videos floating around online. Again, I've got my video. They were one of the companies that had a suite and on display in a suite. And I watched this thing open. I've got a little picture of it here, and I'll show you some more pictures coming up. I have a video in Skool on this, and it was just fascinating to watch. This base, it has an LCD screen at the bottom. It's triggered by an, I think it's RFID card. It was to open the case. It has these huge hydraulic arms. And because you're cantilevering back with the weight of the motherboard and all the components, that base he told me how much it was. I think he said it was like 32 kilograms. So what's that? 60, 70 pounds. It's heavy. So my first question, and it's going to be sold on the InWin website. So my first question is, how do you ship that thing? And I've partnered with them before. They did the giveaway for the channel reaching, I think it was 20,000 subscribers. Or 25,000, I can't remember what it was. But I did that celebration with them, and they gave a case away. I would love to do a build in this, but honestly, it's so big, I just don't know what I would do with it. And I mean, even if I gave it away, just the shipping costs alone would be astronomical. So I would love to do something with it. I just don't know how to or what to do yet. So stay tuned. The other one, and this is a little bit of a different flavor, was Thermaltake. Had a lot of really cool racing peripherals. I know there's a lot of people in the community that are really into this, and I love the stuff. I don't have a setup, but it's really cool to see, and I'll show you some of that coming up. I think that Thermaltake had a bunch of other things on display, which was interesting as well, that I thought were good. I notice I didn't put any monitors here. In fact, you're not going to see many monitors in my live stream today. The reason is that nothing was really a surprise. It was just LG and Samsung came out with new versions of their OLED and WOLED, which LG doesn't call WOLED anymore. And they're good improvements, but if you've got an existing gen OLED, I don't think they were that profound to me that you would upgrade, because that's what I'm facing is like, would I upgrade? I wouldn't do that unless you can get a lot of money for your existing monitor. But as soon as these new ones come out, of course, your existing ones drop in price too. So, all right, let's see. All right, so first the Aeon case. This, first of all, it was very, very hard to film. You'll see in my footage, because it has the mirror finish like the prism case that I built in. It was hard to film in the room with the right lighting, so you really have to check out InWin's video. They had it on X the other day, and that has perfect lighting, so you don't get all the reflections. Even this one from InWin, you can see it has the lighting kind of shining off this thing. It is absolutely stunning. This base, like I said, is beautiful. It has its own LCD screen here at the bottom, and it's really cool. It has these touch buttons, so you can click a button and it goes to all of the data readout, right? Like GPU temps, CPU temps, fan speeds, all of that. You click a button and you can put anything you like on that LCD screen. So it's pretty cool. And then, you know, the really cool feature is that it opens. And so this was just amazing to watch. I watched it open and close about 50 times because there was a content creator that literally was holding everyone else up because, you know, him filming was more important than everyone else's day. And you could see people were getting annoyed. I didn't really care, but I filmed it pretty quick. Fascinating to watch. Just, if you're going to put this somewhere in your, you know, let's just say you buy this. By the way, I have no idea how much this is going to cost. It's got to be over $1,000. I mean, it is a work of art. But if you get it, number one, you got to find somewhere to put it. And then you got to have the room behind the case to open it. Because if you have this thing and you have it on display, I can guarantee that everyone that comes over is going to be, let me open it, let me close it, let me open it, let me close it. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, this is an enthusiast level. This is one of their signature cases. So every year, well, there was a couple of years where they didn't, but most years they do a signature case. And it's basically, money be damned, let's create something unique. What I love about it is when companies push like this, it's not that the case is practical. It's not that the case is going to go into, you know, widespread distribution. But some of the features will make their way into cases that we will buy. So that's what I love about a company like InWin, innovating. I really do love the fact that they innovate. That's why I like them so much as a company. So this was very surprising to me to see. And it's huge, by the way. Man, I didn't get the height, but I'm trying to think of how tall it was next to me. It's probably 4 foot high. I mean, the thing is huge, right? You can see kind of the size on the side relative to the motherboard tray there. And that's a EATX motherboard with 2 water cooling radiators on it, water-cooled radiators. It was just amazing. All right, Thermaltake. Thermaltake had some new and updated peripherals, which are cool. I really love the F1. I love F1. So I love the F1 steering wheel on the left-hand side. That's pretty cool. They have some more basic steering wheels, and they have pedal sets. They had it set up on display with this wraparound monitor that you could try out. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to try it out. It would have been fun. I think this is called the GR900. Yeah, you can see that on the right here. They had the GR500 on display on for sale on their website. This is the GR900, so it's new and improved. Looks pretty cool. If you're seriously into this stuff, this is something you may want to consider. And then this was just some different shots. I pulled this from online of people using it. I love this steering wheel. I can't tell you how much this is pretty cool, right? So playing F1 2025 or when 2026, I heard that's going to be a significant upgrade. With this is going to be fun. So yeah, so if you're into racing, this is something that I love. Thermaltake had a bunch of other stuff on display, and you can see that in Skool as well. All right. Let's see. Let's see if there's any questions that I can answer. Yeah, Scott said he would have rather had an air-cooled Lightning. That's what I was hoping for. The thing is about an air-cooled Lightning is that if you want, you can water-cool it. The thing with an AIO is it's really, really tough to water-cool those things. So, to air-cool, because, like, what do you buy to wrap around it? So that's what I didn't like about it, but it is a beautiful card, don't get me wrong. I liked it more seeing it in person than I would say seeing it online. I was very disappointed the first day when those images leaked, and I thought, man, this is ugly. But when you see it in person, it's a different story. In fact, I'd say that's true with most of the things I saw. All right, biggest disappointments. AMD. Can't say how incredibly disappointed I was in a company more than AMD, except for maybe the second one that's coming up. But okay, so they announced the 9850 X3D. They didn't announce, and it was a small part of their keynote, they didn't announce the 9950 X3D2 for who knows what reason. They could have just thrown it in there. I get to the booth, and this sign isn't even outside. This is on Tuesday. So you see this sign here under the AMD logo where it has AMD. That wasn't there. So I had no idea that it was even AMD. I walked in, and I'm walking around going, who is this? And so it took me halfway through their booth to figure out that it was AMD. You've got to look at the tour I did. I'm not going to post it on YouTube because it's kind of pointless. But you got to look. The 99% of their booth was industrial applications of AI. Server racks. They had coffee, and it was a horrible, horrible demo on the coffee. It was, here's how we use AI to predict what coffee you like. I mean, like, okay, but I can just order the coffee. Why do I care if you use AI to predict what I would like? I can literally just say, this is where people use AI to do stupid things. Like, there's no value in this. There was a whole wall on display about coffee, and the guy gave me a demo. I'm like, that's just bizarre. So you walk through, and there's a robot and a server rack and some factory thing, some laptops. And in a small corner, it was a Super Nintendo 64, and they had an Alienware desktop. It is in a very tiny corner. Like, you've got to watch the footage. It's crazy. And then apparently they had the 9850 X3D on display somewhere there in that small corner. I was shocked. And, you see there's a lot of AMD fans, and they keep claiming that AMD has your back, the gamer's back. They don't. And this is so bad. That they screwed this up. This was the Consumer Electronics Show. I don't often agree with Gamers Nexus, but he was spot on where he kept emphasizing this is the Consumer Electronics Show. Consumer. Their whole booth was focused on industry, like AI applications in business. It was insane, absolutely ridiculous. I was so incredibly disappointed. And I thought I couldn't be more disappointed than the next person on my list who said, AMD, hold my beer. I think I can outdo you. And that, my friends, is Intel. Intel was worse than AMD for two reasons, right? Well, one big reason. They booked the entire fourth floor of the Venetian, basically. So they spent a huge amount of money, and they had this display, and in the middle, it's small here, but again, I walked in and walked around. It literally took 30 seconds or a minute. They had this huge display with a screen with a panther running around on it. I'm not kidding, just a panther, no tech, just a panther for Panther Lake. And so the panther would come on and growl and then run away and come back. That's it. That was the big middle part. I don't know if they didn't have budget or whatever. I mean, they booked the entire floor. So maybe book a smaller room and not have such a terrible, terrible display. And you walk in and the entire thing, there's massive gaps of nothing. And then there's just some laptops with some displays of Panther Lake on laptops. That's it. Why didn't they announce the refresh? Why didn't they announce B770? If they had launched, what a missed opportunity. If they had launched B770, they would have been the only new GPU at CES 2026. It's the Consumer Electronics Show. Announce your consumer products, especially if you haven't canceled them. Look, if they've canceled Battle Mage, I got it. Don't show it. But from what I hear, they did not cancel the refresh. Show the refresh. It was insane to me. So yeah, it was like Intel and AMD got together and said, how can we disappoint our fans, our consumer fans, as much as humanly possible? And they tried to one up themselves. All I can think is that Intel is now using, because of their financial problems, a year ago or so, they're now using the same marketing firm as AMD. Whoever came up with this they have no sense of gaming. They have no sense of like this market. They have no clue what they're doing. It was so incredibly disappointing, right? And I'm an optimist. I'm a very positive guy, and I was genuinely angry at them when I saw this. The first was AMD. I saw that before I saw Intel, and I didn't even know it was AMD. And then when I saw Intel, I knew it was Intel because they had their sign up everywhere. So I knew walking in, there were huge gaps of nothing. Like they had this area for people to sit down with no one in it. And it was the whole, like half the back wall. It was crazy. So yeah, my prediction was wrong, but it was insane that they didn't announce these things. Absolutely crazy. So anyway, okay, moving on to something more positive. My top 5. So number 1, you can't go past the Lightning Z that was announced by MSI. We're going to step through these. I've got that here. That box wasn't on display at CES. It looks like that's the retail version of the box. They had more of just a simple black box, but the actual box design was there. So I'll show you that. The other thing I found fascinating from MSI was their new line of power supplies that have a very, very cool feature that could literally save your GPU from melting. So they have this really cool 12 volt high power feature. They have 2 MPG. They have an AI1300 and AI1600 PSU. And then they have 2, and that has a plug-in by a USB into MSI Center that does some monitoring. And then they have 2 more basic versions of the PSU that just has an oral signature that'll go off when you've got a problem. And it's very annoying. They tried it out. It's very annoying. So number 1 was MSI. And so here's the Lightning. Now, thanks for joining, Steven. Appreciate having you here, buddy. This is a beautiful card. I was, like I said, I was very disappointed when I saw the leaked images on day 1. But when you see it with the LCD screen on, it is beautiful. I do wonder if the LCD screen hurts its thermal performance at all. It shouldn't. It should be sufficient to cool with a 360 rad, particularly if they pump 1,000 watts into this thing. So it's, beautiful looking card. When you see it in the case, it's even better. On the top and on the back, they actually have carbon fiber, so I like that touch. But there's no way you would mount this horizontal, right? You've got to mount it vertical with a riser cable. That sometimes adds some challenges, but you have to use the LCD screen. It would be incredibly dumb not to do that. So here's the twin 12 volt high power connectors that you'll need to plug in. It is a limited edition, only 1,300 being made, and you can see the carbon fiber on the back here. They had about 5 of them on display. Nvidia had one on display. MSI had a few on display. There was a couple somewhere else too. So I saw like number 13 of 1,300 and a few others floating around. It's gonna be hard to get a sample on this. I suspect they'll only sample out to super large channels. Problem is, none of them know how to overclock this thing properly. So hopefully I can get my hands on one and compare it versus a Matrix. And I'm not worried about the bigger channels getting their hands on them because they're not going to do anything with them anyway. They have no idea what they're doing, most of them. Again, this is the retail box that just looks beautiful. Did I put in? Oh, this is the breakdown. So the retail box, you can see this online. I think that's a beautiful looking box. It's actually mounted vertically, and I'll show you in a moment. This is the breakout. So it shows the cold plate, the cooling, the actual silicon itself, where the GPU is. And of course, it's a Lightning, so it's built like a truck. I mean, way over designed. It's got to handle 1,000 watts and cool that effectively. And then you have the cooling solution there, newer fans as well, which is pretty nice. It does not look like these are RGB fans, so keep that in mind. I don't know. It just does not look like they are. They might have RGB in the hub. This is the actual case that was on display. So this may be a sleeve that goes over the outside, I think, just for marketing purposes. And then on the inside is this. This is the actual case. It's beautiful. You kind of pull it apart at the top. And I have some video of that on the channel, on Skool as well. By the way, I'm not planning to do a CES 2026 recap of everything, because every time I do that, it's the lowest viewed video on my channel. So I've done a bunch of shorts. I'll do some more shorts. If you want to see the raw, like all of the content, join Skool and you'll be able to see it at the lowest tier, at tier 1. So if you want to see that and hear some insider talk, because I'm talking to people like JJ and others from Asus, so you can do that. So I think what I'll do is probably I'll make a video around the interview I did with Jacob from Nvidia, because that's a little bit more unique. At this point, by the time I get a video up, you've probably seen it elsewhere. That one is a little more unique because I dig into some things that I'm pretty sure lots of people missed. So I'll upload that. That's probably what I'll spend the time editing while I'm working on new content. And then here's the PSU. Doesn't look much different other than it's got two 12-volt high power connectors. That's not unique. It does have this extra cable here. Again, that's not unique. What is unique is this. And they don't have this on their website anywhere, but this is the plug-in to MSI Center. This is currently for the 1600 TS. And you can see that it monitors the amps. So it has sensors on every wire, which is pretty cool. So it monitors the amps going across the different wires. And then if they had a demo where you can unplug one wire and it'll go into fault mode. What's cool is DeBauer just looked at the matrix and was showing and monitoring the amps, and with his gadget that he's created, the Thermal Grizzly plugin that allows you to monitor. So this is the new Pro 2 version, and he was showing that the great thing about dual 12-volt high power connectors is they spread the load. Like, you want to basically look at that and say, of course. This is why all of these high-end 5090s all 5090s should have dual 12-volt high-power connectors. That's my opinion. It just makes sense. I don't know how this is even a question at this point. So the fact that we have two cards, again, by the way, I don't know how much the Lightning is going to cost. I do know that availability is slated for end of February, but I'm getting very concerned that this thing is going to cost, I think it'll be north of 4,000. It could even be $5,000, which is insane, right? So bear that in mind. There's only 1,300 of them, but it hurt for me to buy the Matrix. I don't know. Let's see. I mean, I don't know if I can get the Lightning if it's going to cost $5,000. It's just, you're getting to insane prices, right? Anyway, I think back to the time when I bought my first Titan for $1,000, thinking this is insane. And now, what do you get for $1,000? A 5080 if you're lucky. It's crazy. So, okay, so that was MSI. Next up is Asus. I was very impressed with Asus. Now, they obviously not only announced but launched the Matrix ahead of CES. So they didn't have a new GPU on display. Well, they did actually. They had a 5090 ProArt, which is beautiful. Like 2-slot with 2 big fans, oversized fans. That was a beautiful, sleek looking card. Again, I have plenty of footage on Skool if you're interested. So if you want to see all the raw footage, I don't know how many hours I have. I probably have, I don't know, you have to ask the Skool members that have watched it. By the way, for the Skool members that are on, I uploaded another 15 videos last night. A lot of it is Asus MSI content. I just took a lot at those places because they had a lot on display. I also picked, Asus had some glasses too, which were pretty interesting, but it was, okay. So from Asus, what I found interesting was they had they have a refresh for the X870Es, so AMD motherboards, really nice motherboards, we'll get to that. They introduced an innovation for AIOs that I don't think is being talked about enough, and I'm going to dig into that. Basically eliminating any cables from the AIOs. And by the way, when Asus does something, all of the manufacturers copy 6 to 12 months later. So you'll see this innovation in MSI, Gigabyte, you know, ASRock, you'll see that innovation there. They introduced new fans called the Eurux fans. I think I said that correctly. What's interesting about these fans is that JJ claimed, so I haven't tested them obviously, but he claimed that the reason they took so long to produce these fans is that they're using a unique material that no other fans use, and the performance is supposed to be better than Noctua fans, right? Like the best in class 120mm fans. They don't currently have 140s yet, but I'm sure that'll be coming down the line. The lighting on these things was the best lighting I've ever seen in any fan. It looked seamless. It was like they were, this pack of 3 looked like they were just one unit. And then the Cronox case, it's amazing. I really want this case. This is their new, you know, high-end case from Asus. It has an LCD screen. It has, it can, you know, fit 4 fans on the side here, and that can rotate, which is beautiful. 4 on the top, 2 on the back, 4 on the bottom, 14 fans total. Comes with a hub to handle all of those 14 fans, so you don't have to buy anything extra. Not a cheap case. I think $399, JJ said, and you'll hear him talking about it in the content that I took. I did launch a few shorts on this as well, so you'll be able to see that on the channel. So this is their motherboard lineup. The highest end that they're launching is the Glacial. Now the Glacial used to be a water-cooled motherboard. It is no longer a water-cooled motherboard. So it has this beautiful LCD screen. This is to rival the Extreme, basically. It's in white, looks amazing. Absolutely stunning board. I asked them about this one. Unfortunately, I only have 3 to sample, so I'm not going to get a sample there. But the motherboard I'm actually more interested in is the Dark Hero. I really want that board. What's cool about the Dark Hero, and then they have a Pro Art and they have some of the Strix boards as well. They're all getting the update. So this is the Dark Hero. So 2 things I want to point out. The first one is this upper PCIe M.2 slot. So PCIe 5 M.2 slot. It has a vapor chamber cooler on top. So finally, you'll be able to put a PCIe Gen 5 SSD in that top slot and not have to worry about putting an aftermarket cooler on top because it has a vapor chamber cooler on it. So it all ties in with the theme. You don't have to worry about interference with a GPU that would go right behind it. It is like an absolutely stunning board. Can't wait to get my hands on this. And then the other thing I want to point out is this feature. See these pins on the side next to the CPU? Those pins are the pins that the new AIOs plug into. So it's basically just a magnetic, like you clamp down the AIO, and I have footage in a short on the channel, and I obviously have more extensive footage in Skool, and you just mates down, you screw it in, that's it. No cables to run. That is amazing. And then the third thing I really loved was that they have finally put 3 USB 2 headers on the motherboard. I mean, the number of components now that need a USB 2 header, you only get 2, and you have to figure out a way to split it. And I've split it in the past, and it hadn't gotten enough power, and it was causing stutters. By the way, that's a common source of stutters when one of your USB devices doesn't have enough power, and it keeps trying to ask for more power, and it causes stutters. And so you have to buy a powered hub, you have to put it somewhere, and you're worried about the quality. 3 USB 2 headers and removing the cables. So you don't even need a USB 2 header for the AIO. Brilliant, brilliant move, Asus. I know their components are more expensive, but man, you can't beat the innovation and quality coming out of Asus. Like, it is exceptionally good. So very, very impressed with this board. Absolutely stunning. Can't wait to get one. Again, X870E board. And it also comes preloaded with a Wi-Fi driver on the board. So when you're installing Windows, you don't have to worry about running a super long cable to try and get Ethernet, or trying to figure out how, getting an installation with Rufus to put your Wi-Fi drivers on. It'll load. So it's a beautiful thing. Beautiful looking board. It's hard to pick it up in the pictures, unfortunately. And then the Glacial, obviously, stunning board, EATX. This would look good in a white build. Now, I'm planning out a white build, and I was going to use the Apex. It's for my wife. It's for a professional build. I'll do it on the channel. This would look even better. However, yes, it's at least going to be $1,000. I mean, this is comparable to the Extreme. So you're looking, I would say this is probably going to be $1,200. I don't know the price of it, probably $1,200. These motherboards, by the way, are releasing in January. It's supposed to be releasing soon. So keep that in mind. Again, it has the pins, so you'll be able to connect into the new AIOs that are releasing or soon as well. Absolutely stunning board. Again, if you're doing a white build, it is going to look amazing. Now, this is the new Strix. Let's see. It's the Strix 4 360 ARGB AIO. Now, this is the one with the pins. So no cables. What you see is what you get. You screw it down, and that's it. It is a beautiful thing. And by the way, Asus has implemented some new software where you don't have to install Armoury Crate if you got one or even two components. You can just individually run the components with this light version, which is a good thing because Armoury Crate has had problems in the past, or at least I've had problems with it. Now, this is one of those Strix AIOs on a Dark Hero, and the integration there is unbelievable. And you imagine the BTF version with this, you wouldn't see any cables. It's crazy. By the way, I'm not a big fan of the BTF versions. I picked up the motherboard and I pricked my fingers multiple. I actually drew blood on one occasion because it was heavy and I was picking it up and I was trying to install it. And this is for the test stand to test the matrix because I want to use the BTF connector. And I did see that Asus sent Roman from DeBauer some connectors that will allow you to basically connect the BTF connector to a conventional 12 volt high power. I'm going to reach out to them, see if they can send me that too, but I'm currently testing on the Z890 Hero, and I'd never used BTF before, and it's a bit of a pain, so I like the conventional motherboards a little bit more. But beautiful looking combo here. It really is beautiful to look at. Again, video, it's hard for me to show video here just because it eats up bandwidth, but on Skool, I show you behind it and you just see how seamless it is. It's great. The new fans, so I'm not sure exactly of the availability, also not sure of price, but I can't imagine these are going to be cheap. So, these are going to be very similar to Lian Li fans in terms of pricing. I would assume $30 a fan, something like that. It's insane, but it absolutely stunning. And this is a big if the performance claims match the claim, if the performance actually matches the claim, these will be worth it. And these are the fans that I'm going to use. If you're going to get the Cronox case, they're going to look amazing. And this is the white Cronox case with the Glacial, the new Strix cooler. So the short tubes for the Strix cooler, a white Astral, with the LCD screen which comes with it. Absolutely stunning. And by the way, you can put another one of these fans that's at the top, the exhaust fan, down the bottom too, which I'll definitely be doing. Or what you could do, and if you're going to do, and by the way, they're going to launch the normal flow versions and then the reverse flow versions of these fans. So, but what I would do in a case like this, I would have the lower exhaust fan actually pushing into the case, bringing fresh air in from the back to feed your GPU, and I would have the fans at the bottom pushing up, fans at the side. By the way, that can pivot, so you'd tilt those back a little bit, so I'd tilt those. All of that pushing fresh air into the GPU and onto the motherboard. Now, the GPU is going to push non-fresh air, of course, onto the motherboard, but all of that pushing on, I would put a RAM cooler on there. If you're using DDR5 RAM, that's always helpful. I would get one of those on. And so you want the RAM cooler to be below the RAM pushing up, right? Or above the fan, above the RAM sucking. You'd have your top exhausting and your rear exhausting. And that's a lot of intake and lower exhaust. But do not be misled by Jay, who talks about positive and negative pressure in cases. That's a load of crap. This is a perforated case. And think of a balloon. You can't punch holes in a balloon and then try to create a pressure gradient to the ambient. If you punch holes in a balloon and try to blow it up, guess what? Not going to blow up, right? You're not creating a pressure gradient in highly perforated cases. It does not make sense. So please ignore Jay when he talks about over and under pressure in cases. Just worry about the flow. Worry about bringing in cold air and pushing it through your case, over your components, and pushing out, expelling warm air, all right? Don't have everything pushing air in, right? That doesn't make sense. It's gonna be more efficient if you can expel warm air, right? So, just a quick tutorial, I guess, on the aerodynamics of cases, right? Just worry about the orientation of your fans. Please don't worry about pressure. Jay has no idea what he's talking about, and I'm happy to go toe-to-toe with anyone in the industry on this. I have more than 20 years of experience as an aerodynamicist designing aircraft. I know what I'm talking about here, right? It's absolute garbage what he talks about, and many others copy him. So just bear that in mind. This is the black version. Hard to see here because it's a black background. It had a see-through background. So, you know, black version. I like the black version. I kind of like the white version better, I have to admit. The only problem is that getting a glacial, I think getting the case will be relatively easy. Getting the glacial, man, not so easy. Unless it's $1,200, but even then, you look at the Godlike sells out in 2 seconds, right? And this is the black version with all the fans. That lighting, it really is stunning to see. And they showed all additional kind of lighting effects as well that you could do. And it's stunning. This is with max fans. So how many does it have? So 4 on the bottom, 4 on the side. So that's 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. You can put a 4th one on the top. So this had 13. You can put up to 14 in it. It's beautiful. So, all right, that's the Cronox. And this is it next to a monitor. It's probably one of the only monitors I'm going to show with the LCD screen. So it really does look stunning sitting there. And it's a dual chamber with the PSU. So if you get a really nice looking PSU with a screen on the side, this is going to hide it. So that kind of sucks. But it does allow you to use any PSU you like. So now, I didn't mention this earlier, but this is the G1000. You may have seen this. It has it generates holograms in the front and on the side. I have video of this in Skool. Unfortunately, this is not a standalone case, which was pretty disappointing. It's a full desktop, so you got to buy the whole thing. They said they're not gonna sell this as a standalone case. It was stunning. At the top, you actually have a duct up the top. See where this top light bar is? Above that is a scoop that scoops air in and feeds the AIO. So it's kind of like a separate chamber for the AIO. Absolutely stunning. I don't know what's up with holograms, but I think of holograms, I think of older tech, but these were stunning, absolutely stunning. So beautiful. There's a special mention from Asus. It was on display there. Really, really cool to see. Scott, no, they don't, for the fans, they don't currently, well, when they're available, they're not going to come in 140s yet. I think that they timed the launch of the 120s with this case. So as with the NV7 from Fantex, when they launched their fans, the whatever they are, D50s or whatever they are, they launched with 120s first, and then they made the N9, which allowed for 140 millimeter fans, and then they launched the 140 millimeter fans. I wouldn't be surprised if Asus does something similar. I don't know, but when we meet with JJ in Skool, you can ask him directly and get it from the horse's mouth, right? So super excited about this. I was actually, I was jazzed after I went to the Asus booth. By the way, when I was there, I think there was a couple of you, Brian and a few others, jumped on, and I went there live with my phone while on Skool and showed some of the stuff at Asus. It was pretty cool. There's a lot of people there when I did that though. All right, number 3 is Gigabyte with the Aorus 5090 Infinity. Now, I think this is a very nice looking card. I really do. I genuinely think they surprised me. They shocked me. I didn't expect them to have, they had some motherboards and other things that was kind of a yawn, in my opinion. They'd already announced their X3D lineup, which I don't think adds any value. But this graphics card was interesting. That's a blown up version of it. What's fascinating, you can kind of see the outline here. There is a smaller fan in the middle. The sides are complete pass-throughs. So they redesigned, or they designed their own PCB for this card. So the PCB is only in the middle. And then on either end is basically just the cooling solution. Now, this only has one, I mentioned this earlier, one 12-volt high power connector. So bear that in mind. And so this isn't going to compete versus the Lightning and the Matrix, but it'll be an absolutely stunning centerpiece in a case. I don't know if this is limited edition, and I don't know when it's going to be out. I also don't know the cost. So I could imagine, since it's an Infinity, like a special 40th anniversary version, I could imagine that this is going to be more expensive. I don't know what that means in the current market. Like, if you look for 5090s at the moment, you can't find them anywhere. And so you see all the third-party sellers jacking up the prices. Hopefully there's a new batch of 5090s coming soon. Otherwise, we're stuck with higher prices for a while, which you could see coming, obviously, due to RAM shortages. This was the version that was on display at Nvidia's booth. So I took some images of it. The table that it was on display... Oh, was this... I don't know if this was on display. Yeah, I think this was on display at Nvidia. They had a couple on display. And then this one is the back. This was, unfortunately, this table was lit up, so it made taking photos terrible. But this is the back of it. So as you can see, it's completely passed through. And then that center fan blows through and ducts out the side in these through these big radiators. So it kind of blows in and bends, right? So that's the center fan. Number 4 is something you probably haven't seen a lot of, and I was very impressed with this. I was there. I walked around on a bunch of some of this stuff with Doofus from Frame Chasers, and he was absolutely not interested to go see BiWin. And I went there, and it was amazing. And I said to him, "You got to check this out." He went, and he's like, "Yeah, that was pretty impressive." I was shocked by BiWin for a couple of reasons. Number one, of course, they had high-end memory kits that are going to be insanely expensive. So they are beautiful, and I wish this launched in the normal RAM market, which we'll get back to at some point. But absolutely stunning, and I'm going to talk about this kit in a moment. But they also have other RAM, the Opal, which is on Amazon, and I'll show you that in a moment. They also make RAM for other manufacturers, and they make memory and storage for lots of other people. So they are significantly larger than I'd known, based out of China. So they're entering the US market, North America. I'm not sure if they're in Europe or Australia or that area yet. Perhaps someone could let us know if you live there. And do a search and let us know. But this is again, I got conflicting information from some people at the booth, whether this was BiWin or not. This memory is made by BiWin. I know that for sure. I'm just not sure if origin code is if that's an ROG or an Aorus and they're part of Gigabyte. I think that's what it is. I think it's more like the high-end branding for BiWin. Or it's some kind of separate company. I'm not 100% sure. I think that's what it is. So think of it like an ROG. And by the way, I'd set up a meeting with BiWin and a meeting with Origin Code. They were in the exact same area, and I only realized that at the show because I'd never heard of them. So they have this cooler, this triple fan cooler that integrates with the RAM. So when I say it integrates, it actually screws into the top of the RAM DIMMs. So it significantly enhances the cooling of the RAM. And in the discussions that we had, just by doing that cooling, you're looking at getting an extra 200 to 400 megatransfers per second speed on the RAM stable, which is very impressive. So if you have a kit of DDR5 6000 CL30, you could push to 6400, which is pretty impressive. And so this was great. And that's full stability. You can push to those numbers and not be fully stable. But if you test it in Kahu, hey, by the way, Kahu version 2 is supposed to be out very soon or is already out. So if you should be, if you're following my channel, testing the stability of your memory. It's one of the first things you should do when you build your new computer or get new components. Kahu is a tool I highly recommend. I do not benefit from advertising Kahu at all. He does not have, whoever the guy is, does not have an affiliate link. It's great software. So if you buy version 1, I think you're going to get the license going to be valid for version 2 as well. So I'd hurry out and go get it while you can. This is the actual kit that was on display, and absolutely stunning. I picked it up, filmed it, took a look at it. They have it in silver and they have it in black. You can buy it in the US, but you've got to go to JD.com, Jingdong from China. I went there last night. I couldn't even find the damn kit there because you do the conversion to English and then it goes back to Chinese. So I have no idea what the hell I'm looking at. And there's no way I'm going to spend more than $1,000 on a kit of RAM and have no guarantee that it's going to actually arrive. So at some point in my life, I'm going to be that wealthy that I just don't care, but it's not now, right? So I'll wait and speak to them and see if I can source one somehow from somewhere. But what was fascinating about these kits, by the way, they're Expo focus kits. These are for AMD systems, which I found interesting. I mean, it's not interesting in the sense that AMD has obviously captured a larger market share. It's interesting in the sense that you get diminishing returns from speed on AMD systems. So what they went for is super tight timings. We're talking 6000 CL26 on a 48 gigabyte kit times 4. So they had typically you'd be lucky to get that on a 96 gigabyte kit. They had a double size, right? So you're populating all 4 DIMMs and getting that stable. They also had 6,000 and 8,000. They had 8,000 CL36, 48 gigabyte kits there. They had 6,000 CL30. So what's that? 256 gigabyte kit. It's crazy. Now, of course, their timing is horrible to launch these things because those kits, I don't know, they're probably $2,000 now, I would guess. I can't see them anywhere for sale, so I'm going to dig in a little more and see if I can source one. But this is it in a beautiful build, by the way, but this is it integrated. So you can see the RAM there and it screws into the top on the sides here in those 4 corners, and it looks like a beautiful integrated solution. So I think that's the neatest integrated solution I've seen. Now, that being said, the Aorus, so one thing I'll say about Gigabyte, the Aorus X3D Extreme has a integrated RAM cooler that kind of you can pull off, install your RAM, and kind of clips back in on the motherboard. That was a cool feature. Of course, it's a $1,000 plus motherboard, but that was a very cool feature. So I'll give Gigabyte credit for that. They did a good job with that. I'm pretty sure I filmed that on the last day, so I'm not sure if I've uploaded that on Skool yet. If I haven't, I'll do it after I'm done with the live stream. And then I just looked. BiWin is selling their Black Opal, so these are their gaming RAM. So that's not the Vortex that you saw. So that's not the origin code Vortex. This is their top of the line. This is the BiWin Black Opal line. Now, of course, the prices, I know, but if you look at a good quality 6000 CL30 kit, that's reasonably priced for current market conditions, right? I know it's very expensive, don't get me wrong, but they are for sale in the US currently on Amazon. The other fascinating thing is that they make Predator RAM. So if you click on this and you click on, like, you can go to the BiWin store and this will be there. So they make stuff for Acer, right? So this RAM is insanely expensive. 1,150 for 96 gigabytes of, it is 6000 CL28, so it's very tight. But they had on display, they had 96 gigabyte kit, so 2 48 gigabyte DIMMs, 6000 CL26 on display, which was pretty cool. So that's there. You can buy these if you're interested. If you got $1,000 to drop, you can buy those today on Amazon. And then the last one is Nvidia. And the thing that I liked about Nvidia this year is that they launched DLSS 4.5, but they made it available on all RTX GPUs, right? That's impressive. Man, if AMD did that, there would be a huge round of applause for AMD. Nvidia did this. To be fair, you've got to say that was a great move, right? I mean, making that available for any RTX card from the 2000, 3000, 20, 30, 40, 50 series. Fantastic. The enhanced MFG will be available in the spring, and that's only going to be for 50 series. But I applaud Nvidia for making something like this backwards compatible. I think that was a phenomenal move, and I'm going to give them credit for it, because all you hear out of the larger channels is hate, hate, hate. Hate for Nvidia, hate for everyone. The reality is that it was AMD and Intel that dropped the ball this CES. Absolutely disgraceful, and I'm going to call them out on it, and it was BS. Nvidia, look, they didn't launch the Super Series. I think that was obvious. I guessed it. It wasn't, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out. But they did launch 4.5 and they made it backwards compatible. And you know what? Hats off to them. It is the best upscaler on the market. There's no question about that. Even compared to Redstone, best upscaler on the market, and they made it backwards compatible. So you know what? You got to call a spade, and Nvidia did a good job there. Now, the thing I will say is that I found it interesting that the enhanced MFG isn't going to be available to the spring. Knowing that CES is scheduled, you know, when it's scheduled in early January, I was surprised that they didn't launch it at the same time. But then I thought about it and I realized that this was probably, they likely were planning to launch a Super Series, and they had, you know, the vision of RAM getting increasingly expensive. By the way, I confirm none of this with Nvidia. They didn't want to go on the record to talk about VRAM at all, and I don't blame them, right? It's a losing discussion if anyone talks about it. But I believe that this was their way to kind of say, what are we going to launch at CES? And they accelerated 4.5, possibly. I don't know if they were going to have it ready or not. But these additional features, if they were launching a new GPU, then it would have made sense to launch some of these features later, and they just couldn't pull them in fast enough. That's my guess as to why dynamic multi-frame generation, which is awesome, and 6X MFG isn't available today. So I'm looking forward to testing that and seeing. I really do like the dynamic MFG capability. Makes sense. And so that'll be a good improvement from Nvidia as well. So, you know, they were my kind of top 5. I will say I didn't include any monitors here because honestly, I didn't, except for Pulsar, and I did a short on that yesterday. Pulsar monitors, if you're playing first-person shooters, are a big deal. I don't play first-person shooters, so I didn't care about that as much, but the motion clarity, the enhancement was amazing. And if you look at the short that I released today, only a couple of hours ago, Jacob talks about how a monitor with Pulsar, and it's a chip, it's a hardware chip inside the monitor, that's running at 360 hertz, is delivering a motion clarity of 1,000+ hertz monitor, which is pretty spectacular. And I watched it side by side. They had Anno and they were scrolling and you could read things. They had fast-paced kind of first-person stuff, and you could actually read the text as it was going by fast, which was got to be an enhancement for first-person shooters, right? But again, that was interesting. The rest of the monitor tech, the monitors are really fascinating. They're really good quality, and if you're buying a new monitor today, get the latest gen. But if you've got an OLED, I jumped on the OLED bandwagon. I'm not spending more money on what I consider to be somewhat small increments, right? It's like when you get an LG C1 or C2 or C3, you're not really going to notice a difference between the generations. That's my opinion, at least, right? And so, you know, just to be clear, all of this footage, the raw footage, is in Skool. I've uploaded, I don't know, there's probably an hour and a half of raw footage, and obviously just be aware, if you're watching in Skool, there's going to be some dude's elbow in front of the camera at some point. The reason I kept filming in those situations is, like JJ was talking, I wanted to pick up what he was saying. I was more interested in getting his soundtrack than capturing the stuff, and I went back and captured better images anyway. I wasn't sure whether I was going to make a video or not, but at least now I get to upload the raw content, and the Skool community, Blackbird Army, can actually check it out and look at it and take a look and kind of get that insider scoop on all of the things that were said at CES and were shown. Things like the ProArt GPU, the ProArt case, the ProArt AIO, the ProArt motherboard, which will be a little later than the other X870E motherboards. There's a bunch of stuff at MSI. I showed some monitors. Let's see. It was a lot of other things that it's hard for me to put up on the channel because they were little bites. Also, I did what I thought was a pretty funny tour of Intel. And I also did a walkthrough of AMD, and you got to see it to believe it. You may not believe me of just how bad it was until you actually see the footage. I might put that up on the channel, but you know, if I put something up on the channel telling the truth about how AMD dropped the ball, I better put up how Intel dropped the ball and Nvidia dropped the ball as well. Otherwise, I'm going to get absolutely hammered. It is remarkable, right? I really do think AMD did not have gamers' backs there. I know that AI, you're sick of hearing about it, so am I. I do think that AMD and Intel are trying to copy Nvidia there and really trying to push AI, and I get it. From a business perspective, it makes sense, and I wish them luck with that. But at the Consumer Electronics show stuff to consumers. That's what the show is about. There's 1,000 other events where you can show your industrial applications. This is about the consumer, and they really lost sight of that. And so at least Intel was showing laptops that are consumer focused. So maybe they weren't as bad as AMD, but man, why didn't they announce the 200S refresh? Why didn't they announce B770? So yeah, that was disappointing, but there was a lot of cool stuff that I didn't cover half of it, right? That I got to see. One thing that was really cool, not PC tech related, but TV related, was I saw the new LG. You know how Samsung has the frame? Well, LG has a new version of that, and these TVs are huge and super thin. Like there is no, everything's inside this. I don't know how thick it was, half an inch of thickness. Absolutely crazy. And these monitors are massive. So they sit on your wall. You can display like a painting or whatever on there, a digital painting. They look amazing. So that was cool going to see that. There was so much stuff there. It is crazy walking around CES. I got so much exercise walking around CES. My problem is that because I'm on the East Coast, I wake up at 4 in the morning there, and then I crash super early. So I like to eat a little earlier, and then if I'm hanging out with like Jufus or someone else that's on the West Coast, they like to eat food later. So that always causes a bit of a challenge, but yeah. All right, so any questions? Hey Dakota, Brian, it's good to see you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the content. I was saying earlier, I uploaded last night. It was pretty late, actually. It was probably 10 p.m. or something. I uploaded a bunch more stuff. I'll do another upload today as well to make sure I have all of the content up there, the raw material. And if you run across anything that, I forget who it was that yesterday said he couldn't watch it through, I just re-uploaded it and it worked fine. So if you come across anything like that, let me know. With respect to Skool and giveaways, we've given away a monitor, we've given away a case, the motherboard, which by the way, I'm slow to ship out. So the motherboard, the screwdriver, and the other case, this case, I will be shipping out this week. So I'm sorry about the delay. CES really screwed things up for me. So we're giving away multiple kits of RAM, high-end OLED monitor, case, screwdriver, motherboard. I've got some storage here I'm going to give away coming up. I will likely give away more RAM. So when I do the how to tune memory guide, I will give away another kit of RAM. So stay tuned for that. And I'm seriously thinking about giving away a GPU. I may do that when I hit 50,000, so it'll be a little later in the year. I'm hoping it'll be a little, I'm hoping as soon as possible, but I think I might give away a high-end GPU for that. I'm not 100% sure yet, so I don't want to say exactly what it is, but hopefully that hits at the right time when GPUs are tough to get. I'll give away a GPU. I've given away a 7900 XTX on the channel. I've given away a 5070 Ti on the channel. So I'm going to give away something. I'm going to give away something cool. Let's put it that way. And also next year at CES, we're going to try and get a bunch of the Skool members to join me at CES, which will be fun. We can hang out, check out all of the tech, grab dinner. It'll be fun. Now, dinner, mind you, is going to be at 5 p.m., which is 8 o'clock my time. So just keep that in mind. But no, after we've seen all of the PC tech, I'll walk you through everything, introduce you to different people. You can have a chat. And then, so we'll do that. I'll dedicate a whole day to that. Probably the last day, the Thursday, I'll set up some meetings and we'll go in and check it all out. So that'll allow me to film on the Tuesday, film some additional B-roll on the Wednesday, and make some content on the Wednesday, and then hang out with the Skool community on the Thursday. I think that'll be a fun way to do that. And we always, Juvas, myself, and another content creator that we know, our tradition over the last 3 CESs is to go to the Win Buffet. If you've never heard of this, it's one of the coolest, but I think it's the highest quality food from a buffet I've ever had in my life. It's like high-end restaurant, everything available. So I don't eat lunch that day. I go there thinking I can have a huge amount of food. I usually have 2 full plates of stuff and I'm done, right? And then I have dessert and other things. It's awesome, but that's our tradition, the last night. So can join us for that, which will be fun, and hang out and have fun. And we'll see if there's anyone else who can get to join. You know, as I'm making more connections throughout the industry, I'll be able to hang out with some of the other content creators as well, which I think will be cool. I made some good contacts there. Have a great contact at Newegg. And so we should be able to get some sponsored content on the channel from Newegg, and some sponsor and some samples from Newegg, which will be really good because they're a great source for that. Who else did I meet that was good contact? I think that BiWin is a good one. I'll follow up with them. We'll see if they can get me out some of their SSDs and some RAM. Let's see, who else? Asus, you know, I had some stops and starts with Asus last year. And JJ, Samir, and Samir, there's a new guy as well. So I met him. I think I can work with them better this year, which will be good. I think our expectations are all aligned. So that'll be good. Gonna have JJ on Skool, like I said, which will be good, and has some other guests as well. I might see if Jacob can join us as well. And again, I'll record those and then I'll post those on YouTube so no one misses out, which will be good. Let's see, what else? I'm working on the Intel memory timing optimization guide for Skool. So I currently have the AMD guide up there. So that's for tier 2 and above. And working on the Intel one. I will do a how to tune DDR5 memory a video on the channel. That'll be for everyone. So that's coming. There's a bit of work that goes into that, obviously, because you've got so many different parameters in BIOS. You've got, I also want to cover the fact of, hey, if it's written as this, for example, TREF is a great one, right? Sometimes it's, you know, TREFI, sometimes it's TREF, sometimes it's, you know, reference interval, whatever it may be. I want to be able to do like a decoder ring for ASRock, Gigabyte, MSI, and Asus. So I've got to sit down and go through those BIOS options, list them out. I know what they mean, but now I've got to go through and decode, well, which one is this really? I wish that was standardized. It makes no sense that it's not standardized. It just makes making this kind of content a lot more challenging. So hopefully that's well received. It's a lot of work to do, so it's probably going to take me, you know, a month or two to get that done. While I'm working on, I've got the Matrix video that I'm working on, which I'm pretty excited about. This is fun testing this stuff, right? And we'll see if I can get my hands on a Lightning. Hopefully it's not, you know, $10,000 and it's something a little bit better. I also have a Discord server that I know a bunch of I don't really go there a lot, but a bunch of the community loves it, so they're using it. And that's it. So I'm going to continue to do this throughout the year. I'm going to see if I can get to, I'm going to see what it looks like around the time of Computex. If it looks like there's going to be some big announcements, I'm going to try and get to Computex. If it doesn't, I don't think I'm going to waste the money, because that's an expensive trip over to Taiwan. I'll be a little. I'd rather invest that money in like a Lightning versus, that's basically what you're considering, right? Either get a Lightning if you can get access to it, or go to Taiwan to Computex. So if they're going to do some big announcements like a Super Series or something, which I don't think is going to happen, I think the Super Series has been officially canceled. It hasn't been officially canceled because it was never announced, right? You can't officially cancel something that was never officially announced. But I think it's been canceled. It makes no sense for Nvidia. They might as well wait for the 60 series. Don't, invest R&D dollars or other things. AMD's going to wait too. So we're not going to see anything until the 60 series and the 10,000 series from AMD come out. So we got what we got. I think that's cool for me making content because I got a lot of cool content coming up. A lot of content. I haven't tested GPUs for a while. I'm testing those now. When the refresh comes out from Intel, if and when it comes out, I want to test those. I've got the new chips from AMD, not looking like it's going to be much of an uplift in gaming. Whatever, I still want to test them. And hopefully Battle Mage comes out. So a lot to look forward to this year. I know pricing, particularly for RAM and SSDs, is tough. Hang in there. Nothing lasts forever. I focus on the things that you can do if you're looking to upgrade. Focus on the cool components that are out there that you can afford, that you can use. DDR4 is still viable. Hang in there on that. There's always going to be a bottleneck in any system. Doesn't matter how high end it is. So don't focus on the bottleneck. Try not to make it worse. That's going to vary in games. But, upgrade bit by bit what you can get. If you can get your hands on a GPU, like the 5070 Ti 5070s, 9070 XTs, 9070s are still pretty reasonably priced. So go for that. I think that's, where I would target. I wouldn't try and get a 5090 at the moment, or at least wait until availability improves. Because they have so much VRAM, I think that's the issue. And then, look for deals. The Skool community, a bunch of the guys in there have some really cool websites where you can monitor and track and get alerted when deals launch. If you live near a Micro Center, you're very lucky. Thanks for joining. Appreciate that. And so, keep doing things like that. And like I said, hang in there, participate in the giveaways. And like I said, I'm going to give away more cases. Cases is tough because shipping can be expensive. So a lot of the times the shipping will be more. If the shipping's more than what you can buy it on Amazon for free shipping, then there's no point in me doing it. Unless you live somewhere within my vicinity in the upstate New York area, then we could meet somewhere and I could give it to you that way. RAM's pretty easy, CPU's pretty easy. So as I have those available, I'll do the giveaways, and I am going to do a mega giveaway for the 50,000 sub celebration. I'm going to try and get that sponsored and do some big giveaway. So maybe a sponsorship with Asus and give away like a Cronox or something like that. I think that would be awesome. I'm going to give away a GPU for that. So that'll be fun. I think that CES, you see a lot of people talking about how bad CES was. What's fascinating to me is that they weren't there. Like even GN wasn't there, right? So don't listen to the people that weren't there, right? Listen to the people that did actually put in the effort and went, and get your information from them, right? It wasn't as bad as what some people led you to believe. It could have always been better. I was disappointed by some things. I was pleasantly surprised by others, right? Like Gigabyte, they surprised me with the Aorus Infinity 5090. I thought that was cool. And what's cool about that is that it might actually be a little bit more reasonably priced because it has one power connector. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, but thank you to those of you that support the channel. I really do appreciate that. It makes a huge difference to the channel. It really does support me going out to CES and spending my own money, getting those flights and hotel and all that stuff adds up. And I really do appreciate the fact that you support the channel, and it really does help me deliver great content. And I appreciate all of you that, whether you're members or not, that watch the content, comment, like, subscribe, all of those things. I really do appreciate you. It makes a difference. I love this stuff. I'm super passionate about it. I love this community that we've built in Skool. I love the community that we've built on the channel. I really do appreciate you all. There's lots of people that I'd love to do a big shout out to, but you know who you are. I interact with you often. I still try and keep up on answering all the comments on my channel. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do that for, but I do love it. I do love engaging with everyone, even the people that the what is it, the trolls that jump on and just have nothing positive to say. And there was a guy the other day, right, and he talked about Nvidia. And can't believe they did this, can't believe they did that. And I'm like, well, you did get DLSS 4.5 for free, and it's backwards compatible. So then when he realized that, he's like, oh, well, graphics cards are really expensive, and they're only going to get more expensive in the future with new releases. And I'm like, so you were angry at something you got for free, which is an improvement in performance, right? He was complaining about fake frames and everything. But, you got that for free. You don't have to turn it on, but you did get it for free. And now you're complaining about GPUs that don't even exist. I mean, I'm not happy about prices going up because I'm buying all this stuff myself, right? So I'm not happy about that. But man, I'm not going to focus just on the negative, right? Like, focus on some of the cool tech I showed you today. I mean, there was a lot of cool tech here, right? This is... Oh, what? I mean, look, this... Oh, I should go back to here. These are my top 5, but it was hard to come up with the top 5, right? Like, there's some cool stuff here. This power supply from MSI, for example, gonna stop, cable burning, hopefully, for 5090s. That's pretty cool, right? Some of the innovations, those fans from Asus, you can afford those, right? They are supposed to be phenomenally good. Hope they are. Right, the AIO innovations, it's going to populate into all of the manufacturers next year. You'll see them all there. The Infinity, the RAM, okay, it's cool, but it's very expensive. And then DLSS 4.5 is free for everyone, right, that has an RTX GPU. Okay, if you're running a GTX GPU, it's probably time to upgrade. So, thank you for everyone for joining today, going through this. I think I was pretty happy with CES this year. I think I got a better handle on how to do it as a content creator. That's always the challenging part to me. I'd rather just go there and geek out and just chat and see stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. And yeah, I appreciate that. I'm glad that you got into overclocking, and there's more guides coming, right? So lots of people have been asking me to do a memory guide. There is a memory guide coming. I'm working on that. So stay tuned for that, both AMD and Intel. In the meantime, if you join Skool, you can get the timings, right? 6000, 6200, 6400 this is for AMD, remember. And then 7600, 7800, 8000, right? And just remember, 7600 is equivalent to 6200. 7800 is equivalent to 6400 in 1-to-1 mode. So this is 7800 in 2-to-1 mode. And 8000 in 2-to-1 mode is faster than anything else. Happy to anyone to challenge me on that. I'd be more than happy to do that. So thank you, everyone. I really do appreciate you joining me today, and have an amazing rest of the week. Lots of cool content coming up. So check out the channel. I appreciate it. Thank you. See ya. Bye for now.